Happy Friday, GIF. If you're working for that weekend. And yeah, it is March 21st, 2025. And Bitcoin and altcoins continue moving today, running with the VEPS. That's the volatility, entropy, probabilities, and statistics. And if you've taken a look at the probabilities and statistics of the volatility and the entropy today, you've seen some very nice movements on low time frames. Definitely scalpable on low time frames if you know what you're doing with the VEPS. If you don't know what you're doing with the VEPS, well, you can come learn that for free at the Alpha Trading Discord. Just go to alphatradinghq.com/discord. When you're in there, you can get free information about how to trade with the volatility, probability, and statistics. You can get free indicators to trade volatility, probabilities, and statistics. We call it the Volatility Starter Pack. You get free indicators and a free chart. All the educational material you can shake a stick at. And you're sure to like it. Guaranteed. It's very good. Very useful. Powerful stuff. Let's just put it that way. It doesn't matter if you are looking to trade altcoins or the Bitcoin mother gorilla, dandelions, blue flowers or yellow flowers, whatever you're looking to trade. There is no shortage of flowers you can trade or of altcoins you can trade. Even here in northern Israel, despite there being war all around. Here in Israel, we have war on basically 7 fronts. And in our country, we have war on more fronts than we have borders, ironically. And 2 of the borders, the biggest ones that we have, we're not at war with. But one of them, the 3rd biggest front, we do. And the second one, the 4th biggest front, and the 5th biggest front, and the 6th biggest front, we do. We have a lot of fronts in Israel. So, for example, the borders with Jordan and Egypt are the 2 biggest fronts that we have, and those are technically at peace. Interestingly enough, I don't know why am I talking about this now? It's not a video about current affairs, but what the heck? May as well mention it. If you've been paying attention to what's been happening in the Middle East in the last few weeks and months, you'll notice that one of the first things Trump did when he became president again was he met with Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu at the White House, and he announced his plan to basically create Mara Gaza, right? And basically a luxury seaside resort in the Gaza Strip by evacuating the 2 million or so Palestinians who live there now to other countries, namely Egypt and Jordan. Initially, everybody laughed it off, except some people like me and a bunch of other Israelis who said, and some other people, but mostly Israelis who understand the big picture, said, you know what? Out-of-the-box thinking is very useful in the current state of affairs, because we've tried the de facto status quo for so long. It clearly does not work. Right? It's not a solution. We can't keep doing the same thing we've been doing. That would just bring more failure. So thinking outside the box is fine, and relocating some people from Gaza, if they want to relocate to a better place, sounds like a okay plan. Of course, there are issues with relocating them even to Egypt or Jordan if they're just going to be literally right on the border of Israel, Now you have them in a much more spread out place along the border of Israel, which is, in theory, a kind of a bigger threat. So now Egypt, so Jordan initially said we essentially reject this, and then they relented a little, said, okay, we'll take a couple thousand of your sick people if they need, like, medical care or stuff like that. We'll bring them in, and their mothers or fathers or whatever, if they're like sick kids, their parents can come with them. So they said okay to a couple thousand, but a couple thousand out of a couple million is obviously nothing. But it was a crack, if you will, to open the door. And now, after all these other proposals from other countries who basically laughed off the idea and said, oh, it's ridiculous. No, of course we reject this outright. The Arabs rejected it. The Saudis rejected it. Everybody rejected it. Now Egypt is saying, you know what? We'll allow 500,000 people in the northern Sinai, in the city. So Egypt is willing to basically give a city to 500,000 of the Gazans and say, okay, you guys can temporarily live in the city in northern Sinai. Which, I mean, really shouldn't be that big of a deal for the Egyptians, since at least about a quarter of the people who live in Gaza have their roots in Egypt. Even their last name is Al-Masri, which means the Egyptian. And yeah, sure, a lot of them married into the family or whatever, and they themselves weren't necessarily from Egypt, but they married into Egyptian families with Egyptian roots that came from Egypt just a few generations ago, in many cases, or even in a lot of cases, right? And so Egypt, in theory, says it is willing to take up to a quarter of Palestinians from Gaza and relocate them temporarily while Gaza is rebuilt from scratch, temporarily have them reside in northern Sinai, in a village, or city rather, that is on the border, pretty close to the border with Israel, which again presents a whole nother set of problems, because now you have 500,000 Palestinians on the border of Israel, huffing and puffing their way angrily through the days. Every day when they look across the border, they'll see their quote-unquote old home, which they used to complain was an open-air prison, and now they'll complain that they missed their open-air prison, right? Which is not an open-air prison. If anything, they made it that way, but it was not an open-air prison. It was just a piece of land, well secured by Israel on one side and well secured by Egypt on the other, precisely because the people living there were seeking violence. And now they effed around, and now they're finding out. And that's how life goes, right? If you F around, you find out fast. The more you F around, the faster you find out, and the more you find out. I don't know what you're writing here, but hello, Uncle Chin Chin, whatever that means. I don't speak Chinese. But anyway, so that's something that is happening locally that affects a lot of local issues intraday and interweek. So yeah. So anyway, thought I would let you get a quick update on that, and remind you guys, remember, when you're trading Bitcoin or altcoins or whatever, ignore the news, right? I'm telling you about current events, current affairs as they affect life here and my life and whatever, and just in general, not just as they affect my life, but current events that affect a lot of people's lives, because it's good to know what's going on, but you have to remember, like, you have to be able to separate the signal from the noise, because as the old saying goes, right, if you are not aware of the news, you are uninformed. If you are aware of the news, you are misinformed. So you need to be aware of the news and then sort out the wheat from the chaff, or the signal from the noise, so that you don't get misinformed by the information, right? There is importance in knowing this stuff. It is useful. It is even actionable in some cases. Not as a trader, but as a person in many other ways, right? There is actionable intelligence in that information, but you have to remember it's lagging information if it's already in the news. By definition, by the time it gets to the news, it's lagging information. It's old information, right? Because it has to be, the event has to happen, and unless it happens live on TV, and even then it's lagging, but unless it's on live TV, or we'll just, for the benefit of the doubt, we'll say on live TV, it's happening now. No, it isn't. But in most cases, news has to happen, and then like the event has to happen, and then a reporter has to collect the data, gather his or her thoughts about it, written format or other, video format or whatever, pass it on to an editor that has to pass the editing desk once, twice, maybe 3 times, maybe more, and eventually get published, right? And there's a whole series of processes to get that happening, whether that's paper or TV or radio or whatever you have. So that means that by the time it actually airs, by the time it's actually broadcast anywhere, it's lagging information, right? It's not new information. So that's why you don't trade the news. You can be aware of the news. You should be aware of the news. It's useful. But don't waste your time trying to trade it, right? If you want to be into newspapers, if you want to be in the news, you want to be a journalist or reporter or editor or publisher or whatever, go nuts. But, as a consumer, remember, you can't trade on news. It's all lagging information. It's just good to be aware of it. Good to be situationally aware as always. And that includes political information, and that includes information you find in the news for anything. But it's all lagging information. Right? The only real leading information that you can have access to when it comes to trading is really the VEPS. Right? That's the best information that's available to traders, whether you're working at an HFT firm, big quant shop, or you're a retail trader. It doesn't matter. You can get access to the VEPS. And Alpha Trading is the group that brings it to you, to the trading world, better than anybody. There's really nobody bringing you the VEPS like we do. There's barely anybody bringing you anything to do with volatility or entropy or probabilities or statistics properly. I mean, we know of one other group that they know their math, but they're very, very bad at teaching people. They're horrible, and they're absolutely just a horrible group of people. So we don't go there. Just mean and nasty people, cursing all the time and insulting people all the time, just ugly. We at Alpha Trading, we would like to give you the experience of learning how to trade, like with good, friendly customer service, right, with a smile. And for us, we give it away for free, right? There are 1 or 2 things you can buy from us. Like literally, you can buy our indicators and you can buy our tutoring package. That's it. We don't sell anything else. And our indicators are dirt cheap, and frankly, so is our tutoring package. We just do them to help people learn a better way to trade. So if you want to learn a better way to trade, check out Alpha Trading. Go to alphatradinghq.com/Discord. And that'll do it for now, guys. Take care, ladies and gentlemen. See you in the live stream that starts in the Alpha Trading Discord. Again, alphatradinghq.com/Discord. Live stream starts at 11 a.m. U.S. Eastern Time, where we go over big assets, little assets, traditional stuff, as well as crypto. And that's it. We do the Monday through Saturday. So starting at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. See you guys. Happy trading. Peace.